Alright guys, welcome back. So today I'm going to do a special ranking video, a part 1 of a 5-part ranking video that will be uploaded every couple days in a couple weeks time of the ranking the Sinister 6, which is 6 horror franchises, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Chucky, and Scream. And this idea was created by Derek from Derek's Horror Corner, who got that idea from Drum Numbs and Cody Leach, who did their 31 on 31 ranking, and a lot of other people in their group as well. They all did a 31 on 31 ranking, which was the big three: Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, and Halloween, and ranking those franchises like in order of how they loved and hated them. And we're doing kind of an extension on that just for fun, like doing another kind of ranking, but we added 3 more franchises, which we consider to be the big 6, I guess, like if in how we view them. So I'm really excited to talk about all these movies again. I really am excited to do another ranking. And this video today will be just ranking number 50 to number 41 because, like I said, we're doing them in segments, so there will be 10 in each video, so 5 videos, and this will be the first one. So let's get on with the ranking and talk about my number 50, which is Texas Chainsaw 3D. I've talked about this way too much on my channel. Just, this movie is so horrendous. It is the reason it is my number 50 out of all of these films, out of 50 horror films from these 6 franchises. This is my least favorite because this is the most inept and the most and one of the stupidest movies I've ever seen for a horror sequel. Like, it is one of the stupidest horror sequels ever, which has it to where Leatherface and the killers look like the heroes, while the crooked cops who killed the other Sawyer family are considered the bad guys. Like, the cops who stopped the cannibal killers are considered the villains, and Leatherface, the cannibal killer, is literally interpreted in this movie as a hero. What? And also, Rosario Dawson's character, Heather, is literally, she was born in 1973 or 74. Then in 2013, this is in present day, in 2013 in this movie, and this character is like 20. She's supposed to be 40, and I literally think that is one of the most incompetent things I have ever seen in a horror movie, that, like, you can't even tell the difference between 20 and 40 years. Like, difference. Like, that makes no literal sense. But the gore is fine. I guess I'll give it that. But besides that, this is a piece of dog shit. I hated this movie. And I've talked about it way too much. So that is why it's my number 50. And then my number 49 would be Jason X. Now, this one, a lot of people love for a so bad it's good quality. And I can see that. I definitely can. But to me, this one is such a drag to get through. I think that these characters are boring and annoying. And I think that they're just really, like, these characters are just so uninteresting. And the kills are fine. There's some really good kills, like the cryogenic kill, where, like, the girl's head gets smashed, is one of the best kills in the franchise. But it just suffers from being just so unentertaining to me, personally. And like I said, a lot of people love this movie and for its so bad it's good factor, and that's fine. It's just not my cup of tea. That's why it's my number 49. And then my number 48 would be Halloween Resurrection, a movie that I can give it a couple little positives. I liked the score. I liked how Michael Myers looked. I didn't mind Sarah, the final girl, even though she's got some weak acting moments. But this one is just an insult, where, like, you end H2O and Laurie Strode cuts off Michael Myers' head. And then they make up the excuse that, oh, he switched suits with a paramedic and put the mask on the paramedic, crushed his larynx, so he couldn't speak. So Laurie Strode killed the wrong man. So now Laurie Strode is in an institution, and then Michael Myers comes and kills her in the first 15 minutes. Immediately there, I just want to say fuck you to the people involved with that movie, and Jamie Lee Curtis and all the people who made H2O, like, think of it as a joke. Like, this movie was just ridiculous and how it should have not existed. But to be fair, if we didn't get this really shitty movie, we might not have got Halloween 2018, which I think is great. So it's just, it's just one of those Halloween installments that's really awful, and it's truly, out of all the Halloween movies, this is the only one that I don't like. All the other Halloween movies I can find some positives for. This one, it has a couple tiny little positives, but I really don't like this one. And then my number 47 would be, controversial opinion, the Friday the 13th remake. Now, Jason in this movie is incredible. He is really, really disturbing, scary, effective, and brutal. That's the only thing I like about this movie. I think that everything else is awful. I think these characters are awful. I think they're so unfunny. They're so uninteresting. They're so unlikable. They are Abercrombie models, equivalent of like the opposite of like all the other Friday movies where they look like normal kids. These kids look like supermodels, and it's just, it takes me out of the movie so much, and they're just so unlikable and so stupid. And this movie doesn't, to me, have the charm of the other Friday movies. And I know I do give them credit for doing something different, like trying to be not like that. But that made it so uninteresting for me because these characters are so unlikable and stupid. And besides a great Jason and some brutal kills, this one is really one of the worst overall, in my opinion. And then my number 46 would be Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, which is, like, if you rank, like, besides the remake, like, and Jason X, like, this is obviously, like, third worst to last, in my opinion. And there's people who love it, and I don't want to take that away from people, but my opinion is just, this one is just so, it's like the first 7 Friday movies, kind of the first 7, like the first 6 I love. I think the first 6 Friday movies are an excellent set of movies that are so fun, so entertaining, so rewatchable. Can rewatch them anytime. Part 7 kind of dwindles in that part of like, it's okay, but it's not awful. And then we get to Part 8, which is awful, where it's just the dumbest main characters who are just so boring and so uninteresting. Rennie is the worst final girl. And I feel bad for, like, Jensen Daggett because, like I don't want to disrespect a person because I don't like their character, but, like, man, I really didn't like her character in this. She was so uninteresting, and she was just like Tina again, except she didn't have telekinetic powers. She just, like, it's like the same character again, and Sean is like the same character like in Part 7 with Nick. So this one, and also the fact that it's not, and I know everybody points this out, but it's not Jason Takes Manhattan, it's Jason Takes a Boat. The first hour out of this hour and a half movie is him on a boat, and then he goes to New York, kind of, but then we're also in a lot of Vancouver places that look like New York, so it's not fully in New York. It's deceiving. And the budget kept getting cut, so I don't like disrespect Rob, whatever his name is, who directed it, Rob Hinniken. Hinniken? I forgot how to pronounce his last name, but the guy who directed this movie, I don't disrespect him because he was just trying with what he had, and unfortunately, like, the budget kept getting cut. And this one was the biggest flop, I think, out of all of them, so they had to revert to New Line Cinema after this because it was so so unliked by everybody, or so disliked. So that's why it's my number 46, Friday the 13th Part 8. And then my number 45 would be Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. Now this one, like Part 8 of Friday the 13th, is just boring and so uninteresting, and the kills are neutered. There's no good kills in this movie. These characters are so bland and boring, except for one badass line at the end of the movie where the main girl, like, has a good line, but that doesn't make up for her throughout the movie just being so bland and uninteresting. And these characters are just so boring. This movie is so dark dark in a way where it just looks dark. Like, the screen is dark, where, like, you can't tell what's going on most of the time, and it's just so uninteresting and so boring, and there's nothing else I can really say about this one, but this one is just boring. So that's why Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 is my number 45. And then my number 44 would be the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, starring Jackie Earle Haley as Freddy Krueger. And this one, while being kind of a greatest hits like Friday the 13th remake did, where, like, they use character names and they use kills, like, throughout the franchise in this one movie, it just suffers from being a remake, if that makes sense. Like, it suffers from being too much of a remake where, like, they repeat the same movie, like the first one, with increments of, like, parts of the other movies, but make it worse. Like, it's just not good. Like, there's some things that I thought were fine about it, but it's so boring because it's just the same movie like the original but done shitty. So it really sucks that it just doesn't get any, like, it doesn't get a lot of things right. It really doesn't. There's a couple little things, like, I didn't mind how the movie looked. I liked how it looked. I liked the kind of grittiness. It's not really gritty, but it the way the movie looked with the cinematography kind of worked for me. But and Jackie Earle Haley is fine. He's just not Robert Englund, but I mean, at least he's doing his own thing. It's just people don't like that because it's not Robert Englund. So, and Rooney Mara is bad in the first half of the movie. Then after that, she gets better. But all these other characters like Quentin are just forgettable. So this one is a tad better in my opinion than the Friday remake because at least a couple characters I like, and I liked how this one looked a little more, I guess. But this one still sucked. Like, the Nightmare remake isn't that good at all. So that's why it's my number 44. And then my number 43, funny enough, would be what everyone considers to be the worst Nightmare on Elm Street movie, which is Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare. And my positives for this movie is that Robert Englund is still awesome in this movie. He's still funny, still entertaining. I really do like how we delve into Freddy's, more of his backstory, like each film kept doing. And in this one, I really loved him and his daughter, Maggie, and I liked how he had this daughter we never heard of. And I really liked her performance as well, and I didn't mind the kills, even though there were like 3 people that died in the movie. And I liked how it went back to the first one, where it didn't have many kills. But that kind of turns people off, because they want to see just gore, which I can understand, but I feel like this story I like more than like part 5, definitely. So, but it's just so over the top Looney Tunes silly that Robert Englund does, which to me is its own thing in this one movie, and I don't mind it. So I don't think it's amazing. I don't think it's awful, but I don't think it's great. But I think it's better than most overall. So, but it was hard to choose between this one and my number 42, which is Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child, which is one that, like I said, I like the story in Freddy's Dead more, but I liked the gothicness of this movie, and I did like how Alice is in this movie again, even though she's not as good in this one as the fourth one. But I do like Alice as a character a lot. I do like her struggle with Freddy. I do like how it ends with her. She didn't return any more movies, but she's still alive. I like that it ended where she kind of had her own, like, she's done, like, it's fine. And I did like her character a lot, and I like that she's one of the biggest reasons why part 5, while it isn't good, she can still get me through it, because I think she's a great final girl. Some of the kills are fine. It's just kind of boring, but it's got a little more creepiness and gothic imagery to it than, of course, Freddy's Dead, which is more Looney Tunes silly. But it was very hard to choose between these two because both of them aren't great. But this one, I guess I put a leg up on the other one. So that's why it's my number 42. And then the last one for this video would be my number 41, which would be Leatherface 2017, which is the prequel to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And in that timeline, it connects Leatherface, the original movie, and 3D. And this one has characters from 3D in it, like younger versions, like Verna Sawyer, who is actually a positive, because I really did like her performance in this. Verna Sawyer, played by Lily Taylor, is actually a really good performance, and she's not in the movie much, but I really liked her. And I like the fact that this movie, while not being great, at least did something different from the other films. Like, it doesn't feel like a repeat. Like, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, even though I love it, feels like a repeat. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 4 feels like a repeat. The remake feels like a repeat, even though it's in different kind of story. And then the beginning does that too, and then 3D does that, where they have all these kills that are similar, characters that are similar, things that happen very similarly. Like in most of the movies, these people are on the road and then they get encountered by Leatherface. In this one, I like the fact that it's young Leatherface, Judd, and like he and his brother go on the run with these two other like crazy inmates, and like they take a nurse as a hostage, and they start killing people off while they're on the run. And I thought that even though the story isn't great, I like the fact that it's different. I like the fact that they didn't just do the same thing like literally almost every one of these movies does. It's the same thing. Even though there are some I love more than others, they're all pretty much the same story. So this one I liked for its individuality, and I liked a couple of the performances, but it's not great. It's fine. It's got some fine kills in it, but it's not like the worst in the franchise, but it's definitely not the best at all. So that's why Leatherface is my number 41. And that ends it to my first video on this 50 ranking, and pretty soon I'll do my ranking for numbers 40 through 31. So thank you guys again so much for watching. Check out everybody else involved with their channels as well who are doing this. Leboman, Derek's Horror Corner, Desmond's Flicks, I think are the only ones that are doing it. But if any more do it, I will bring them up in the video as well for the next one. So check out their stuff. Tell me down below how you think of my ranking for the first 10. And thank you guys so much for watching.